Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, he's Brett, I'm Matt, and we're back from our little, I should say, well, Brett lives in Indiana, but I'm back from my little venture to Indiana this weekend, and I gotta say it was a pretty fun time.
It's always a good time when I get to hang out with guys, that I don't get to see a lot. We made our way to the Combine on Saturday afternoon, which was a pretty cool experience. And then, of course, some other things that you guys do when, you're hanging out with friends that you don't see a lot. So, yeah, it was a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, it was actually my first time ever being to Lucas Oil Stadium. Actually, now I think about it, my first time ever going to Indianapolis in general, but definitely my first time at the stadium. And the only thing I'm disappointed with was that we didn't bring our phones in. And we probably would have got yelled at some point, but I could have taken at least a couple pictures before I would have got caught.
Yeah, that was true. I wish we would have obviously had something to share with people and for you to, remember later as well, other than just your memories, but something else, more concrete to have with you. Um, But yeah, it was still pretty cool. I wish maybe we could have got like one video out of it too. Like what are you gonna do? Take our phones and throw them away? Make us delete it?
Right.
Okay, fine. We're not gonna throw the phone away. So we probably should have done it anyway. A couple of people tried that we saw. I don't think they got too many pictures, but you definitely would have got pictures of like outside of not only outside the stadium, but like in the concourse area and some other parts of the stadium too. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole presentation they did a presentation with the guy who's the head of the NFL or the head of the combine, and they brought in some legendary players. There was I knew most of them. There was one I didn't know. But John Randall was one of them. That was pretty neat. Um, Mark Brunell here was another one, and we got his autograph. So that was kind of cool.
Rocket, Rocket Ishmael, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rucker, who used to play for Carolina. I think the other dude's name, I feel bad not knowing exactly who he was. But Ed Reynolds, I think is who it was. But I could be totally wrong. Because I just Googled him. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe this was him. Ed Reynolds played for New England and New York. Looks like that could be the guy, maybe. Probably. We'll go with that.
It very well could be. And so I mean we got that, and I felt like there was a pretty good amount of fans that showed up. It sounded like the first session, what they say, 1,200 or something.
Yeah, so it used to be like 300 per session. Now it's like four times bigger than that. Yeah, it's like 12 or 1,300. So it's probably close to 2,500 people for the day that they allowed to go through. That's pretty cool. I mean, not a lot of people. We would have, of course, been counted twice had we actually showed up to both of them. We had tickets to both sessions, but didn't want to get up at 4:45 to go to the morning session. So we slept in and then just went to the afternoon session.
Yeah, and I think we made the right call.
We did.
I mean, we would have been pretty. I would have. You see those pictures of every now and then like coaches falling asleep. That would have been me. I would have fell asleep probably at some point. But it was definitely a really unique experience. Something I won't soon forget. And I mean, it was just crazy. Like seeing these guys, and we actually got to watch the quarterbacks throw to the receivers, and I don't know, we had to kind of just witness firsthand like how fast those guys can cover the field and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Well, or how slow some of them can cover the field. They're all faster than we are, but you know.
Yeah. So with that said, did you have like I mean, we both found ourselves. I mean, I took a few notes. I didn't get to take a lot of notes. Um, the biggest thing I guess I noticed, um, just right off the bat, uh, you could kind of you could tell. I thought who had played in a pro style offense versus like being in the shotgun the whole time in college. The guys that were in a pro style offense, it just seemed like they were a lot more comfortable with the 5 and 7 step drop backs, and like their footwork just seemed like it was a lot better versus some of the guys that put up big numbers in college and have big time potential. And I just felt like some of them struggled a little bit more.
Yeah, that was definitely the case. What was pretty cool is they did give us like a headset to listen to the broadcast, and they had Marshall Faulk talking directly to us and everything. And they did mention that fact
for some things.
Yep, one of those right there. And you're going to click back on you so people can see what that looks like real quick. Yeah, it was just this cool little headset that you just put around your ears as a radio, linked directly to what they had going on through the TV. So that was pretty cool. And you could hear them talk about, the differences in footwork and who looked comfortable, who didn't. But they also said that at that point that's not something that they were necessarily looking for at that combine, because they understand some kids will need some development time, the kids that came from a shotgun system a lot more. But they still want to see, the velocity, the accuracy, a little bit of like what your arm, looks like, your throwing motion and everything else. But I mean, it does make it harder, I think, for some of them to improve or impress, the scouts when their footwork is off. It means all their throws are off as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of hitting on that a little bit. First I have to say, so it was kind of funny you brought up when I had our headset in, Marshall Faulk was kind of talking to us. Really seemed like he just got screwed into the like last straw. He's like super unenthusiastic. I understand like you probably can't be super loud, but he really didn't look like he was having all that much fun like talking to us directly.
Yes, that's a fact. He was definitely one of those guys that they were just like, all right, who gets to do it? And he must have drew, like you said, the short end of the straw, because I don't think he did any prep work. Most of the time they do prep work, but he kind of like repeated himself a couple times and just stuttered. And I'm like, Marshall, man, like just tell us what you think. But he was kind of uncomfortable and disinterested. He's like, man, why do I got to talk to these people? It was pretty funny on our end, though, I thought.
Right. So with that said, from what we actually got to witness, who impressed?
I think we both came away, pretty impressed with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
That was a big body. He threw the ball really well. He threw the deep ball, I think, especially well.
Really good.
His footwork was even pretty solid, and there wasn't really much that I could nitpick, coming out of there. The only thing you could really say is his competition level, that he played against, like what exactly, does that prove? It doesn't honestly prove a whole lot if you're supposed to be an NFL caliber guy going against FCS opponents. So, but he's definitely got the tools, I think, to make him a successful quarterback.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you could, I thought he really separated himself. I'll be the first to admit, I was kind of a skeptic just because I really, just some of the stuff like I'd witnessed or like saw like just highlights and stuff like just I'm like it's against lackluster competition. I'm like I don't know, like hard to see if he's really worth a top 5 pick. But after watching him throw with some of the other quarterbacks, and there were some big quarterbacks there. I mean, Lynch has been talked about. Goff, obviously, Goff threw in the first session, so we didn't get to see him, but we did get to see Lynch. I definitely think I would take Wentz over Lynch. But you're right. I mean, all the physical tools are there. It's just going to be a matter of how fast he can pick up the offense and stuff. And people want to compare like him to Joe Flacco, and I think it's a good comparison. But I feel like the Ravens had a lot more pieces around Joe Flacco than say like the Browns would have, and I don't know if they would have similar success right away. Flacco had a really good defense, and like I said, I mean, he had some pretty good pieces in place to help him out. So he was able to, find success early with having a better team around him. So it'll be it'll be interesting to see what kind of expectations get thrown on Wentz if he does happen to be the number 2 pick.
That's a good point. I mean, he could have very well, hopefully, Josh Gordon coming back though, right? Which would be a massive, piece coming back. Probably better than anything. Steve Smith is pretty damn good though. Well, he wasn't even there when he got drafted though to Baltimore, right? So
no, he wasn't. I mean, I'm trying to think of who would have been even their number 1 receiver in Baltimore. And honestly,
is he still in Arizona?
No, I think he was. Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it would have been Bolden. I don't know if they had. I don't think they had Torrey Smith yet. His rookie year, I'm betting. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
So I mean, that would be a good piece. Obviously, some linemen, but you're right. Like overall, the talent, in a place like Cleveland, or honestly anywhere that you're probably getting drafted in like the top 5 picks, 10 picks, isn't going to be very good. I think Flacco didn't get drafted at Baltimore until they were in the late teen, like 18, 16 or 18 or something like that. So,
and part of that might be because he was from Delaware, and now like teams are starting to see like, hey, we can take Ben Roethlisberger, we can take Joe Flacco, we can take these guys from smaller schools, and have success with them.
Yeah, or even a guy, different position, but a guy like a Khalil Mack. And I think a lot of people this year too are falling in love a little bit with a guy like Noah Spence, who obviously went to a smaller school. I think it was at Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, wherever he's from. But he was obviously Ohio State's guy with Joey Bosa at one time as a freshman, before he got dismissed from the school. So there's definitely a lot of guys, I think, now that you can draft from the smaller schools, just as long as they have those physical skill sets that you're looking for. And Wentz at the quarterback position is one of those guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I gotta say,
I won't probably be able to comment on this, so you can talk about whatever you're best.
I can talk about. Okay, I'll talk about this. So what I was saying, whoops, my computer's gonna die. There we go. I was saying a little warning. Good thing I got a warning about it. So Brett can't comment on this, but I gotta say, first I gotta talk a little about our boy, but Joe Stave really impressed me. I was thoroughly expecting just to make fun of him and talk about how bad he was, and you know what? He had a really good combine.
Yeah, okay. We were walking in when his first 40 started. I can comment on this guy. We were walking in when his 40 started, and they cut away, and we're like, what do you think he ran? I was like, I don't know, man, a 5'2". I just didn't think very highly of his athleticism, right? I don't think any of us
had 4'9".
At least you got under the 5s on his gas. He ended up running a 4.8, which is like tied for like 3rd or 4th among quarterbacks, which was like a super surprising athleticism from a guy that that we've watched and frequently fans were frustrated with. But his agility numbers weren't bad. His vertical was really good. And then he threw the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I really thought he threw it much better than much better than I really thought he'd be able to. Just because I watched so many games at Wisconsin where I was like, what is he doing? Where is he throwing the ball? And honestly, I thought he spun it well. And he ran a pretty decent 40 time for someone his size. I really think, and this is something where the combine, it's gonna help someone like him. Like I think he went from, me being like, well, I don't know if he's gonna even get drafted to. If you're a team and you're, 6th or 7th round, yeah, I could see someone drafting him now for sure.
Yeah, one of the criticisms too that at least I've had, and I think a lot of others have had, is he's always done good in practice. That's why he's always beaten out at whatever competition he's ever had. And sometimes it's not as heavy as a rush in your face necessarily, when you're going through the drills, just throwing to receivers in space. He's always been pretty good at that. The thing is when he gets to thinking about it, and you could still see that when it was like his first rep throwing a route, sometimes he almost tries to aim too much. But when they just tell him to let it rip and exactly what to do, like he was actually pretty good at it, which is why he's always been good at, like, I think like a 2-minute drill, for instance. You don't think, he's not trying to aim, he's just trying to get it somewhere. And that's kind of what I think some of those drills almost were like, because he didn't have to think as much. He was just trying to throw it to his guys.
Right. Now, Brett can't comment on this guy, but I can, and I don't have any ties. So this is all my opinion for anyone that's listening. It's just my opinion. So Nate Sudfeld, I was expecting a lot more from him. I thought that there's there's the whole, like we just mentioned about Joel Stave improving his stock. In my opinion, I think Sudfeld didn't have a super good combine. It just seemed like a lot of his throws were off, and we'd mentioned the footwork aspect and how guys that played in a pro offense, it was noticeable. And I really think that hindered or hurt Sudfeld. Just you could tell like his timing was off, and he wasn't used to doing like 5 and 7 step dropbacks, and then like doing the 7-step drop back and then hitching up 2 steps and then throwing like a corner route. You could just tell like he wasn't super comfortable. Even like the 5-step where they run a 5, the quarterbacks are doing a 5-step drop back and the receivers are running an out route, and you could just tell like his like the way that route's supposed to be, when you hit that 5th step, the ball's supposed to come out, and you can just tell like it wasn't super natural for him, just probably because he hasn't had a lot of experience with it. Definitely not saying like he's not going to get drafted, just something that he'll have to work on. And I'm sure when Indiana has his pro day, he's going to hope to put on a better show for scouts.
And there's that. So
moving on quarterback, yeah. I was a little disappointed with was I thought Cody Kessler would be a little better. Is that his name? The guy from USC.
He was the guy that when they were throwing the deep routes, basically had to put his whole body into it to get it like 45 yards down the field.
I thought he was a big, strong kid.
I was actually like, I think a knock on him is that he's generally pretty accurate. I think PF Pro Football Focus had him as like one of the most accurate quarterbacks that they had. But his problem has always been the velocity, especially on the deeper passes. So he's going to be a little bit more limited in the type of throws and offense that he's going to be able to run.
I see.
But a guy I did like, and it was a guy we did get to see. We didn't get to see a lot of them just because they do have throwing quarterbacks, like designated throwing quarterbacks for a lot of the drills, which a guy like Stave and Vernon Adams from Oregon, I think were those guys. So they were throwing a lot of the drills. But Dak Prescott, I think, from Mississippi State, had a pretty good combine too. I mean, I think he disappointed people a little bit in like his 40 because he also only ran like a 4.8 after having like a ton of rushing touchdowns and stuff in college and appearing to be more athletic than that. And he very well might be. It's just one of those guys that, when the pads are put on, plays a little bit better as far as his speed goes. But I think his passing and his footwork, body control, all of that was really great. It was a pretty good display for him.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of, when we were watching it live, I mean, he's someone that kind of jumped out, and just his throws were good, seemed accurate, good arm strength. I thought he really showed some flash. He definitely helped his draft stock.
Indeed. Now, like we said, we only did see the afternoon portion, so we did get to miss like the guys that performed earlier in the day, which is where guys like Hackenberg, Goff, and Connor Cook, Cardale Jones.
Cardale Jones, yep.
Was in there, which you feel bad for Cardale because there was a lot of questions, coming in around him, and then he went out and tweaked his hammy or whatever during his 40 run, so he didn't get to participate. But from the sounds of it and what a lot of other people are saying, a guy like Goff, despite having apparently extremely tiny hands, which is perhaps a big deal, actually had a pretty good combine as far as his throwing and accuracy and everything else that you would have expected out of him.
Yeah, people keep, from pretty much the takeaways I read, because we didn't actually get to see Goff, but pretty much that Goff is probably the most ready to play now quarterback, but I mean, Wentz's potential is obviously, I think his ceiling could be a lot higher for sure. So I definitely think that if you're interested in a quarterback, Wentz really closed any sort of gap, if not put himself ahead after this weekend. one thing I do want to say, I was a little disappointed with there were a couple tight ends I was really hoping to be able to see run the 40, and um, Hunter, obviously from Arkansas. Brett actually brought up one that would have been right after him, but he was hurt, and I don't know his name. But
Tyler Higbee?
is that the guy? He's from a small school.
I think it was Tyler Higbee from Western Kentucky. Is actually on from some of the people that do scouting is actually their number one tight end over the kid from Arkansas. So that'll be a pretty good race coming through. I still think the kid from Arkansas, just because of where he's from, will get drafted first. But I think the Higbee kid should be really good as well. Unfortunately, did not perform because of injury, but should be good to go by his pro day in a couple of weeks.
Right, and Hunter Henry didn't take part in, I guess, any of like the measurement drills, but he did take part in the like catching drills and stuff like that. And I don't know, from what I saw, I mean, I thought he looked the part. I would be really curious though what his actual 40 time was. I know that we actually both saw it. I mean, Darrell Adams from South Carolina, he ran the fastest 40 time for the tight ends at a 4.66, and yeah, everyone else was definitely slower than he was.
It was generally speaking, pretty underwhelming group of tight ends this year that we got to see. Like we said, our two top guys probably didn't perform. I think the kid from Ohio State, Nick Vannett, actually looked really good.
He did pretty good, yeah.
He was Greg Olsen was also at the combine talking to us in our ear, and he was, I think, Greg Olsen's favorite tight end of everyone there. Bigger body, decent blocker still. But also catches the ball really naturally and effortlessly.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean that kind of wrapped up our personal experience. I'm trying to think if there's any like other notable experience or takeaway I had.
Wide receivers.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
We didn't get to see
the end of we kind of caught the end of the receivers, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't really get to see a ton of the 40s from the receivers. I think most people's number one, Laquan Treadwell, didn't run the 40. And the other guy that I think a lot of people want to see is the kid from Baylor, Corey Coleman, I believe his name is. But he would have been in that first group that we didn't get to see as we saw the second group. But I like Laquan's style, wearing his backwards hat throughout all of his drills. That was kind of nice.
That was pretty cool.
He looks good catching the ball.
Yeah, he does.
Not the fastest guy, and you can see he's not the fastest guy, but he's a very natural pass catcher. Strong hands, and I mean he's probably going to have to win a lot of contested balls in the NFL, but he's got the ability to do that.
Right, I definitely completely agree. The receiver from Notre Dame, what's his name? Will. He really helped. He really helped himself. I mean, I didn't watch a ton of Notre Dame games, but there's been a couple that I watched this last year, like just caught the end of it, and he just blows by coverage. And obviously that speed was reflected in 40 time. So I thought he did good. Mike Thomas, the receiver from Ohio State, thought he stood out. He's really like big upper body guy for sure.
He might be one of those guys that's more of like a straight line athlete, so you're not going to have him run as many routes, like the type of route, for instance, that like Julian Edelman would run, where Edelman's got that more elite shiftiness and quickness. But Thomas is a jack dude. He is ripped.
What did you think of Braxton Miller?
I mean, I thought he would run faster.
I thought he would run faster.
He ran, I think, a 4.5 flat, which still isn't bad, especially for a kid, that obviously used to play quarterback. And his overall athleticism wasn't bad, but I think he had good quickness skills. And when you see him with the ball in his hands, though, he just knows how to run. And that's not something that you get to see at the combine when they're running around in shorts. But with pads on and once he gets the ball, he's just really good with it in his hands.
Yeah, that's true. And there's got to be one other receiver we talk about. Brett, I know you really like him, the kid from Oklahoma.
Oh, yes. Uh, he's what is it, Sterling Shepard. Um, is one of my favorite guys. He's the guy that they compared to a lot when we were there to Randall Cobb. But honestly, he's just a little bit faster than Cobb was coming out.
A little bit faster. I think he has a better vertical.
Yeah, he's smooth. He's just a smooth runner. He knows how to set up his routes. And I expect him to be one of those guys that in the slot is going to be able to find ways to get open and make big plays for guys for teams at the next level.
That's fair.
I want to say one other guy too. By the way, is I've been a big fan of. I have no idea how to say his last name for some reason. It shouldn't be that hard, but Leonte Carew from Rutgers. A little bit bigger wide receiver that people kind of thought might be a little bit slower. Ran a 4.5 in that early group, which kind of helped dispel some of his speed issues. And he's one of those guys that he gets open and he catches a lot of passes. I don't think he dropped very many, throughout his career. So I'm kind of excited to see where he ends up going. He's kind of reminds me a little bit of that kid that got drafted. Out of Arizona State to Miami? No, the kid from Arizona State actually went to Houston.
Jalen Strong.
He went to Houston. Yeah.
He just got arrested for possession of marijuana.
Oh my God. Well, maybe don't be like him then.
Apparently, Demarius Randall was hanging out with him, but he didn't get arrested. But still, no, gotta watch who you hang out with.
Jesus. Where were they at?
I don't know. They're both from Arizona State, though, so they're buddies.
Okay. Back our guy didn't get arrested then.
So with that said, so I guess let's go. So what other standouts from the rest of the weekend? Other players that maybe you were impressed by, maybe not so impressed by. What did you think? I guess I have one call out that I gotta make. I really don't like how everyone's comparing Joey Bosa to JJ Watt, because I see all these things like, oh, they're the same height and they ran pretty much the same 40 and they did pretty much the same of this and the same of that. They don't ever show you that JJ Watt weighed like another like 20 pounds than Bosa did. And still, like, I get that they both played along the defensive line, sure, but it's
and they're white.
Yeah, and they're white, but I just don't think it's a very fair comparison. And to compare Bosa to JJ Watt might be a little unfair for Bosa, because I just don't think he's going to be that kind of player. I saw a comparison I did like, where someone compared Bosa to Jared Allen, actually. And I could see that one a little bit more because I mean, shit, if Bosa ended up with the career that Allen had, I don't think he'd be upset.
No, yeah, that's not actually a terrible comparison either. One of the things too was, I think Bosa actually, though his speed didn't like impress you necessarily in a straight line, is actually really good quickness. And I think some of the comparisons too are they want to compare his motor, and some of the other sorts of things that people get compared to, with a lot. But he might be a little bit more like a Jared Allen type, which is pretty damn good.
Right. Yep, I agree with that. I suppose you. What other players did you think stood out, Brett?
A guy from day one would have been Jason Spriggs, and he's an Indiana kid, so I probably can't talk.
Allowed to talk about it. Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
So yeah, if you wanna talk about Spriggs, you can go ahead and do. I'll let you take the floor for him.
Well, I mean, for starters, I mean, he had a heck of a combine. I mean, he just kind of, I mean, he pretty much showed off how athletic he was, and I think from what I'd heard from other people was that this guy was really athletic and just he wasn't. I mean, first off, it's a pretty deep draft as far as offensive linemen are concerned. But I really think he helped his draft stock. And, I mean, he put up, 30 reps on the bench.
31, and then 2 of them were discounted, so I think he actually got it up 3 times, but or
I
33.
don't know what his 40 time was off the top of my head, but I'm sure it was probably really good. I think it was like number one among offensive linemen. So,
Yep.
just stuff like that just shows like how athletic he is. And honestly, if he fell to 27 and the Green Bay Packers wanted to draft him, I wouldn't be upset at all.
He is, if you look at his numbers and his charts and his height and strength and everything else, I think very comparable to Joe Thomas, at least athletically. Like, I'm saying athletically, just as an athlete. Now, obviously, there's a lot more than being an athlete when it comes to playing a game of football, right? Joe is one of those guys who's been, and this is why he's still really good in the NFL, like an elite technician. With his kick slides, his hand placement, and everything else. And that might be some stuff that Spriggs has to work on. But overall, athletically, I mean, that's a guy you can compare him to, I think. Which is
you're right. I mean, as far as just athletically, I mean, he has an opportunity. He's got all the natural tools. Like he really has the opportunity to be one of the premier left tackles in the NFL, I think.
You're right. If he's available for Green Bay, you know what?
I usually am not a fan of drafting offensive linemen, but I tell you what, if he's there, I wouldn't even be upset.
Yeah, Laremy Tunsil, by the way, is the guy from Ole Miss.
Yep.
Probably going to be the number 1 pick, though we never really know how that's going to work out with trades and whatever else Tennessee plans on doing. But he also had a really good combine. In like the position drills, apparently he's just really effortless, in his movement, especially like that sideways movement, like your kick slide and your backdrops and everything else that linemen have to do at the snap. So, not that I was surprised, but it's good to see like what you think of a player be a little bit more true when you get him in that setting. So you don't necessarily have to always go back and reevaluate and watch tape and see what you missed. It's just all matched up, and it just makes sense for teams at the top of the draft to consider Laremy Tunsil right now.
Sure. As far as our offensive lineman for Wisconsin, he might want to hope that he gets kicked into guard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, man. He had like the 3rd lowest reps too, I think, out of like any lineman, or one of the lowest reps. He was like 16 bench reps, which is
awful. There are receivers that do more than that.
That is a fact. And kind of said there's a lot of guys that actually do more than that. Oh, by the way, speaking of bench reps, who was it that did 36 or whatever for the NFL Network? Keith Evans or someone?
Yeah, Keith Evans.
Not bad for an old dude.
Not bad for a guy that just retired. A guy that I really want to touch on quick, because I want to make sure we don't leave him out, but Darren Lee from Ohio State, linebacker, he really, really tested well at the combine, and I for sure think he's a first-round pick. Just not sure. Did he play outside or inside at Ohio State?
His size, he's only like 2.
He's 6'1", 232. But if you think about it, in today's NFL, like with his speed, I mean, he fits perfect, right? Like defenses will be able to move him around a lot and be able to, if he can rush the passer or if he can drop into coverage, he's definitely got the tools to be a stud linebacker.
That's true. Was he with a guy too that some people were asking if he could play safety? I mean, I know Myles Jack is one of those guys as well.
Yeah, he is.
Athletically, but I think maybe Darren Lee isn't, and that's what I read earlier. And because people are like, "Yo, Myles Jack can play everywhere," and there's not a lot of teams I think asking Darren Lee to do that, but he's definitely got that athleticism, that freakish sort of. You can put him out on the field and expect him to make plays sideline to sideline. His side, I don't know where you want to put him. It's obviously going to be weak side. He's got to be off the ball. So if he's in a 3-4, I think you have to kick him inside, which kind of sucks because he might get engulfed by the bigger guys. So you want him on a 4-3 weak side, off ball sort of position. But he's definitely a freakish athlete. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought him up. I think the other guy too that some people he's a polarizing guy is Leonard Floyd. He's the defensive end slash outside linebacker type from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He's big. He's 6'6", but he's only 244 pounds. So he's probably not that type where you'd want to put him in a 4-3 end spot. He's more of like a stand-up 3-4 guy. And he's got 4.6 speed, which should be plenty. So it'll be interesting to see, where teams evaluate him at, because he's got some questionable tape, and it doesn't always match up. But he could be an intriguing guy at the very least, just because he's got really good athleticism and length.
Definitely. The scary thing is, so some bad news came out about Jalen Smith this weekend. Do you think a team? I don't even know. Like, I honestly have no idea where this guy is going to get drafted, or if he will get drafted. I would think he would get drafted somewhere. You're talking about a guy that arguably would have been a top 5 pick, top 10 for sure, and all of a sudden now to maybe not being drafted at all. It sounds like he probably isn't going to play at all next year. So I mean, you're really you're talking about almost a Marcus Lattimore situation where you're just not sure. So I know Ted Thompson, if you're listening, which I know you're not, but if you were, if you're trading back picks and in the 6th round he's still around and you want to take him, you should take him.
Yeah, if he's available, then you have to take the chance on that, because most of your picks at that point don't hit anyway, right? So if you could take it on a guy that if he's healthy, you have a very good chance that he will hit. Now, Peter King did report that there's at least one GM who's still really high on Jalen Smith, despite the fact that he suffered that injury just recently. It was in January. It was the Fiesta Bowl.
Right.
It was December 31st. So you're not expecting an injury at that point right now to look good. Only 2 months out. But yeah, at least one GM is still high on him. So it'll be interesting. I mean, if it's, let's see, guys, if it's a Marcus Lattimore thing though, right? Because he had to retire he never even played the snap for San Francisco, I don't think. So that would be a pretty terrifying injury. But I think he's a guy with his ability, like you said, a top 10 guy for sure. You have to take him, I'd say, honestly, 3rd or 4th round if he's still there. I know that seems early, but unless you've got other guys you really like at that point. But it kind of, I guess, depends on how your draft board falls and where you value things.
That's true. I mean, the one thing I would say is that Ted Thompson seems to, hit on those mid and late round picks sometimes, and seems to whiff on the early picks sometimes. So maybe
certainly does better. Certainly does better with his later picks than he does his earlier picks, it seems, for the most part. Though trading up for a guy, or B.J. Raji and Clay Matthews were good picks.
I mean, it doesn't happen every year where he whiffs. I mean, obviously, the last couple of years.
Only when he's taking offensive linemen does it seem to be a bad choice.
Offensive linemen and, honestly, defensive linemen. Yeah, he's not very good at drafting them either early, it feels like.
Last thing, I think, are corners, safeties and corners from today.
Safeties.
The combine.
The kid from Florida State seems to.
He's locked up.
Yeah, he's locked. I mean, he's just. He had a good day. The kid from Florida had a good day. That page.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey is the kid from Florida State. 6'1", 209, runs a 4.4 set, 4.41. Ridiculous broad or vertical. He's a really good athlete. Some teams might be looking at him at safety, which would be great. I mean, he's that guy that can play in the short or has deep cover skills because of the speed, but he's also really good in the zone, and that's something that he excelled at when he was in college. So, I mean, if you can put him at a free safety spot, let him roam, occasionally have him cover like a slot guy, not making you you can stay in your base defense, whatever it is that you want to do as a defense if people go 3 wide. he brings a lot of versatility to a team.
Yeah, definitely. Another guy was Eli Apple, corner from Ohio State. He had another pretty good day. So I mean, and overall, go ahead.
I was just a knock on Eli Apple. Is he didn't create like a lot of turnovers. He's really good, like jamming you. He's a big dude again, another 6'1" guy. Really good in coverage, just like being where he needs to be. But it's his play on the ball has always been a little bit lackluster. And that might just be like a coaching thing, which, at Ohio State, I kind of view that as not likely, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, some of that stuff, I mean, some guys just have instincts, right? And some guys just know how to make a play on the ball and some don't. But he's definitely got the potential, the size and speed potential to be really good. What I was gonna say was just overall, I mean, they talked about it several times while we were at the combine, just how slow this year's receivers class was versus, in the history. Like it's been, I think they said like since like 2011 or something. Like this has been a really slow receiver class. And looking at the 40 times from the corners, I know we both felt that the corners are usually faster anyways, but I mean, this year, it just kind of made it look a little silly.
Yeah, I mean, there was only two receivers that hit under a 4.4, and very few that were even in the 4.4s as far as like wide receivers go. But yeah, corners, it's like half. I feel like just half of them are like under 4 or 5 guys. They're all just super athletic. Which is kind of fun. Maybe we'll get some more exciting defenses. I always like defense, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. You got any other thoughts on the combine?
I don't. I think it was kind of a pretty cool experience, and obviously it's something that they're going to keep doing. So maybe if I'm down here again, maybe I'll go to that again in the future. Maybe.
Right, you're just going to live in Indiana for the rest of your life, so.
I hope I don't live in. No offense, Indiana. I just don't know if I want to live here forever. But no, it was pretty cool. I'm glad you guys came down, getting to experience that and get insight as to like how the combine works. Was pretty cool. And like this is one of those things where not everything they do on the field, and we understand this, necessarily translates to how they actually play. But it's one of those cool things where you have to, what they do at the combine as far as the competitors or the players go, is it helps validate their tape or it makes you question tape. And then you get to go back and like watch that and reevaluate, based on what you saw from just a straight athleticism standpoint.
Definitely. I mean, and that's probably the biggest takeaway, right? Like I think they, like even NFL scouts and like even they know, the combine's not, end all, see all, and same with pro days. But you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think they use it as a tool for either confirming what they saw on tape or being like, hey, he tested really, really well. Like, did we miss something? And if we missed something on tape, is it something that is a technique thing, and that we can work on that, and he'll be able to be like that potential guy. So it's just one more piece in the ever big puzzle, I guess.
Cool. So I think that does it for this week's show. Next week I work like 55 hours, so who knows when we'll get a chance to record.
That's fair.
And you're moving.
I'm moving as well, so
this weekend, so you'll probably be unpacking and setting up your house and everything else, or your new apartment.
Correct.
But we'll be back soon. We'll probably talk. I don't know, man. Do we want to get into like previewing like division by division, team by team needs as far as like what they need in free agency and in the draft?
Yeah, we should probably get started on that. So yeah, I mean, we might not get around to doing one this next week, but the week after we would start our division previews, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good to me, man. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.